Another thing that I really wanted was was a game that could be 3D and also, be third person perspective and also be first person perspective. I really wanted to be able to see that a game that could actually where you could switch the view between first person perspective and third person perspective. Because some people like to play a game third person perspective, and some people like to play a game first person perspective. As in through the eyes. But the problem is that it's almost like creating two games in one, basically. Sometimes because the perspective changes. Anyway, though, it's a really big challenge and it was really hard, and it was one of the things that that always kind of bothered me because a little bit some game because some and generally in the old days some games were first person perspective and some games were third person perspective, but I really wanted to see a game that combined both aspects. And like I say, I did actually, believe it or not, like I say, believe it or not, part of the White House staff, or part of my staff, my White Star line staff, I did have quite a few programmers working for me. Um, Although as Brian, I don't really have that exactly. So anyway, though, but there's this whole big time space thing where basically White Star Line and the White House is the White Star Line, basically. Like I said, it's Lucifer White Star, and so like I say, the White House and the White Washington D.C. building, that is White Star property. So anyway, it gets all confusing, and you start getting into like Nixon and JFK and Jimmy Carter and everything else, where basically, like I said, the White House used to be a mine, and we also made guns, I believe, at the White Washington or somewhere around in there as part of, basically my company. So anyway, it gets all confusing and all complex where basically, and it gets to become this time space thing because they are supposed to be basically an extension of me. So anyway, you start getting into this whole thing where free will, free choice, and how basically the White House under Nixon and JFK, they kind of went free range. So anyway, yeah. And I'm not really responsible for what the White House exactly was doing. But like I say, I believe Lee Harvey Oswald did actually decide to devote his life and his will over to me, maybe. And that's where basically, in Lee Harvey Oswald's life, he saw things and witnessed things and possibly, became a part of or decided to become a part of whatever. Plus, people in general, as you live your life and you have your children and you do things, you eventually decide, to better your own life and to better your children's life and those around you. So, like I say, I designed you that way. Like I say, the human race has been designed. And other people would tell you that too, that the human race was designed. If you go out there and you ask and you ask the other alien life forms, they may tell you things like, for instance, you were designed, you were created, and that's true, you were by me. Um, anyway, and you were adapted and changed by me as well and other people. Well, I mean, it gets into this whole big complex, life existence thing, but basically, I'm your creator, and several different times you've realized that, or at least people in on the Earth and in other planets have realized that basically I'm your creator. So anyway, and you are supposed to be a betterment to the universe as well as your own existence. Anyway, and several different things like several different things like Epcot Center, the World Trade Fairs, stuff like that. You know, and I suppose several different people, like for instance, um, what's called Howard Hughes and stuff like that. That he was a test pilot originally, and he became. I think he fell in love with Amelia Earhart, and she was one of my queens. And so together, I suppose, technically, technically Howard Hughes and Amelia Earhart were my king and queen, president and whatever, you know, president, vice president. So, and that's the way it actually is, or at least I believe that's the way it actually was. So, and why Howard Hughes said they turned our boys against us, blah blah blah, or something like that, because at some point in time, there was possibly an epic battle between basically Jimmy Carter and John and Jimmy Carter, Nixon, and basically Amelia Earhart and Howard Hughes. But anyway, though, but my aircraft and everything else were built the right way. So anyway, and you get into this, like I say, it gets all complicated because I can tell you that basically I designed communism or communism, and I also designed the American financial system that is basically, capitalism. I did. So anyway, though, and that's just the way it had to be because I had done it before in the past, and so I had to do it in the present. So you get into a whole time space paradox, non paradox, blah blah blah, and you can say, and like I say, for a longest time, even after technically I wasn't actually whatever, I was still the what's called the scientific leader of both communism and basically capitalism, because they were my ideas, my designs, my inventions that were just being done. So anyway, and that's why I was still doing stuff for capitalism, basically, the breaking the sound barrier stuff and like that. And so when America had a problem, they basically had to rely on me. So anyway, and although you can call it secret, top secret, national security, blah blah blah, there was no way around it. I had been a significant role in your history and future and destiny, and I had to be. So anyway, and I was the one who came up with the nuclear bomb in inward explosions or inward whatever. So you can say whatever you want and think whatever you want, but I mean it's just the way it is. It's my ideas that led to basically the nuclear weapons. So anyway, and whatever, I don't really care. The rest of it. So anyway. So, you could all just blah, 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 but that's all you're doing. You're just going, blah, 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 blah. You don't believe it, you didn't believe it, blah, blah, but whatever. I don't really care. Like I said, I'm 90 trillion years old. So, whatever. You may find other people like me, but I seriously doubt it. But anyway, and whatever you want to think, basically I still came up with the word gold and America. There's no two ways about it. So, anyway, and how this is possible, I tell you, Lusifer Star. That's my name. So, you can ask the gypsies, you can ask the Amish, you can ask anyone, but basically, and another thing, anytime you basically said that you wanted to talk to your Lord or God or Creator, all calls were directed to me. If you ask another alien race to get in contact with your Lord or your Creator, well, ring ring. So, anyway, it's me. So, and I believe JFK and Richard Nixon and and Jimmy Carter, they were trying everything they could to basically cover that up. So anyway, whatever. I don't really care. Like I say, I don't care. They're my thoughts, my ideas, my desires, my wills that basically, so you can go a million years, 1,000 years, a trillion years, and you're never going to get around the fact that, yep, it was me. So, White Star Lines, Lucifer. So, and I had schools, and like I say, another thing, the apprentice programs and the schools and the training programs and the whole thing about India and how they were thousands of years ago, that was my ideas, my wills. So, and likewise, the photographs, the still frames, the metal plate photography, everything. It's my ideas and my people and what I wanted done, and people loved it and gathered around it and wanted to have photographs of their loved ones and their people. And like I said, Tiffany used to make little necklaces where you open up the little thing and there'd be a little photograph. And they sold really well. Everything that I wanted, that's why they say Lucifer's products. Lucifer's stuff. Stuff's the more. Games, computers, cars, canned food. rings, diamonds, everything. So I basically built your civilization. So anyway, and clothes, everything, linen, Lenin, LU, Lucifer, Star. So it's my name. Also Brian. So I have British trash, and I can tell you the Thames used to be a giant trash pile. So, and that's why it's Brian Trash, because it was a giant trash pile that we covered over with dirt, and then built a bunch of buildings on it, and then I had my factories there. Anyway, so whatever. Lots of different things, thousands of years history, blah 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 blah. But nice to meet you.